All right, we are headed upstairs to talk with John Smithers because there is always more art upstairs.
And some great art on the stairs. And it's such a sunny day.
It is a beautiful day. Very
Kind of feels
unusual
like
for
not
December
even
in
in
Seattle.
Seattle.
We'll come talk to these folks at a later date, not today. There is more art to be explored.
Mm-hmm. So much good art.
Hello.
Hey, John. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, John.
You're at on the old mic here. Yeah. All right. Welcome to 202 in the Factory.
Thanks.
If you haven't been here before, this is John Smithers Studio. I'm John Smither. We'll do a little look around here and I'll explain some of the things I'm working on and kind of get you acclimated. And what I'd like to do is start over on this wall with probably visually the simplest thing in the place. So this is a new woodcut I printed out recently. So up here is would have been the first sort of kind of test I did with pencil on the block just to see what it was going to look like. And then I printed a first one here, and this is how it kind of came out. And the wood has a flaw in it right there. Is a big open knot, which I designed around, but then I said, nah, I don't quite like how it works. And it's a little too busy going on in here. So by the time you get down to this one, this is the final one. And this is much more cleared out. We sort of worked around that flaw and fixed a few other things in the bird and stuff. So anyway, so this should be dry in about a day it's pretty much dry now actually. So I'll be starting to ship those out, and if people are interested, you can buy these online at my website, of course.
I am interested. I will buy one online.
Right on.
Very nice.
Yeah, so this is another proof print of that one. But,
Nice.
yeah. Well, those are signed. These will all be signed too, but they're just still being dried.
So this is the process of making this is carving or
Yeah,
something and then a print.
right. So you take a piece of wood. It's kind of the oldest form of printing there is. It's really simple. So this is a piece of cherry actually, and you just kind of carve it out. It's really simple. It's like making potato chips when you were a kid.
Totally.
So a little more intense. So, and the blocks last. So it's hard to tell, but there's, some printmakers get really enamored with their blocks and they just want to frame the blocks. They're kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
They're really cool the first time you carve them before you ink them up and then wipe the ink and clean off the plate. Like this really interesting thing. But anyway, that's how it works. Yeah, and I don't use a press because I don't have one and I don't have room for one. So I just put the paper down and I just hand burnish it with a wooden spoon or some other tool.
Nice.
Pretty basic stuff here, but this printmaking was sort of my first love, and so it carries over into pretty much everything else I do. If we move over here to this painting, which is just kind of getting started, so it has some of the underpainting and a little bit of other stuff. It's going to look very different by the time it's done. But what you will see in this, aside from that sort of feel of motion and vibrancy, is you'll also see I use a lot of stencils. And you can see there this sort of green tape on here. For example, these will be stencils, and when I'm done or close to done, I'll probably pull up the stencils and see what it looks like and adjust from there. This is sort of my first sketch of this, thinking this is where it's going to go. So it'll be kind of that sort of vibrancy. I'll probably put a nuthatch in here somewhere too, just for fun. Become very enamored of them. They started showing up in my bird feeder. I haven't seen those before. So yeah, this will be pretty cool when it's done. And then there's another painting over here, which is a little further along.
I
More
love
of
how
a,
you have all the reference photos, you know, where reference to sort of similar themed photos. You know, that go along.
yeah, I use, I'm not really painting from the photos, but it's just sort of kind of triggers my memory a little bit and just kind of, yeah, yeah. So this is further along. And so what I'll do here is I'm going to go ahead and pull a little bit of a stencil up here just for fun, just to kind of see what it's going to do. And you can kind of see there's that negative space happening, you know, as if you were carving into it, which I think is really fun. So this one's actually covered with them. So by the time it's done, there'll be a lot of that going on. So it's probably almost time to pull the tape on this one. I'm probably going to do a few more bits and pieces, and then I'll see what it looks like, and then I'll go back and work on it again. So yeah, so these are really fun to do here. So that's the paintings. Now when I show in galleries and or exhibitions or whatever, typically what I'm showing are not these paintings or these woodcuts. I show my installations. And my installations, if we just move over here, this is a fairly simple one. They use that same painting technique, but now we have multiple panels and we're surrounding the video. And I sort of think of these as sort of kind of altarpieces in a way. And they're sort of devoted to a particular sort of place and time and memory. So I sort of use that TV as the central focus and then surround it with other supporting imagery. And then you'll see the one thing I do with this is I will go ahead and take these stencils and that stenciling, and I'll grab imagery and I'll layer it on the video. It comes in different combinations. It sort of creates as if you're carving into the TV as well, doing that same kind of carving, that same thing. So that's this one. So this one's actually in Seward Park. If you've been through there, you might have seen that before. Certainly a favorite place to go run to. And there's typically audio with these as well. We'll demonstrate that in a little bit. But let's go over to this one. This is sort of near the Mount Si area, kind of back in there in North Bend. This one has a vertical feel. It's doing the same thing. It's got the stenciling going on. It's got all sorts of kind of green, summery things happening in there.
I love how much of a presence these take on the wall.
Yeah, they're really fun. You have to convince sometimes when curators select them for shows, you have to warn them. You have to give these a lot of space.
Totally.
You can't cram another painting next to them.
Totally.
And with these, well, anyway, so let's go, when we have a moment here, we'll go look at the other one on the other side of the wall, which is the latest and the biggest. So this one, instead of one screen, we're now using 3 screens.
Whoa.
And it's all using sort of the same technique. And my stencils are all radiating out from this center, kind of creating this pseudo piece. Now, for audio, we'll go ahead and demonstrate the audio here. So bear with me here. We'll start it out. Let's see. Hope you can sort of hear the water.
Yep.
The trickling stream going through the whole place. So typically, you have the headphones on and you could just zone out for a while with whatever the ambient noise is. So these actually are finally going up in February. They were supposed to go up last year, but we had the pandemic and nobody, everything shut down. So this year, it'll be back at Old Core Gallery in Pioneer Square in February. So the final thing I want to show you, I'll turn the water down now.
You know, I was thinking that would be, you could probably create files like that to go into like VR headsets and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, all sorts of. There's a lot of possibilities. It can kind of go in all sorts of different directions, which is what's interesting about this. So something that people ask me about is they often want to buy the individual panels themselves, which I kind of say no, because it's hard to, then I can't display the installation. However, but because of that, what I do is for some of these over here, I do make inkjet reproductions, which are pretty darn accurate. And so I sell these for a fairly cheap price off my website, limited runs, so it's not like I'm making thousands.
Totally.
Um,
And then you said a recreation, so it's not a print from one of those. It's a
so it's a scan.
okay.
I'll do a color scan, and then it's an archival inkjet print,
Gotcha. Okay.
which will last for, I don't know, probably as long as you live, at least, if not longer. So yeah, so these are available also on the website. I have a few others beyond these as well, but this is my little display I put up for this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So that's kind of what's going on in the studio here.
I like it.
You know, I'll put these will get cleared out pretty soon. I'll start some new stuff and we'll see whatever direction that goes.
Sure.
That's about it.
When you're creating a big installation like this, do you start like, do you make each of these panels knowing that this one's going to be in the bottom left corner or whatever, or is that kind of just?
So yeah, what I kind of do is when I go to a place, I'll shoot the video first, and I may shoot. It depends on how I'm thinking about the space.
Sure.
Do I shoot multiple videos, a single video, whatever, and I'll gather that. And then I'll bring that back into the studio and start to look at it and then say, okay, where do we go from here?
Sure.
And start to sketch and start to plan. I have actually a whole bunch of little cutout shapes so I can do a little modeling of how I feel like these shapes are going to work with what I'm providing and what the video is doing. You know, for something like this, it's fairly simple. You know, I have a negative, there's kind of this light negative area going here, and I just wanted to kind of push it up into this gap as well. And I just kind of wanted to get this to sort of feel like it was warm and warmly embracing the area around it.
Sure.
Right, so I'll kind of plot that out, and then these are, you know, off-the-shelf panels, so I kind of work with that size. I don't make these myself, I just buy them. And then hang up the panels, and then get to it, and just start going for it and see what happens. Sometimes there'll be a loose sketch of maybe where it's going to go, but inevitably that's going to change as the thing progresses. And the last thing I would do is then put in the stenciling once all the painting's done. So,
okay,
you know, that's how that works. But
very cool.
yeah, the idea is you sort of create an experience that you can kind of walk into, get absorbed into, get lost into. So I think that the video is really useful for that because we're so tuned to having video kind of take over our attention.
Right.
You know, we're all trained that way, I guess. Unless we've untrained ourselves. So this tries to balance that and kind of say, yes, the video is part of the installation, but it's part of a larger thing. You try to balance the strength of the video with the strength of the painting and the pieces around it. So that's kind of the challenge.
Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming through today.
Absolutely. It's enjoyable. I love the water sound too. You know.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty fun, especially once you have the headphone environment.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right.
Cool. Well, we've got your information on the screen.
Okay.
And people can find your website.
Yep, johnsmither.net. It's really easy.
Totally.
Okay. All right. So long.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
We'll take your microphone back.
Oh, I don't get to keep this. No.
It's still amazing that we haven't left one behind
I
yet.
know, right?
I know. We're still happen to see. We'll probably mess it up.
We keep saying that though. We'll see.
I know. I know. All right. Thanks,
Thank you.
John. Have a good
one.
day.
All right. On that note, I think it's time for another commercial break.